Τις εκτιμήσεις του για το αποτέλεσμα των εκλογών στην Τουρκία, αλλά και το πώς θα διαμορφωθεί η επόμενη ημέρα για τη γείτονα χώρα, αναλύει μιλώντας στην Νικολέτα Κριτικού ο διευθυντής πολιτικού ρεπορτάζ του New York Times, Στίβεν Ερλόγκερ. Αναφέρεται και στις ελληνοτουρκικές σχέσεις, υποστηρίζοντας πως εάν ο Κιλιτζάρογλου νικήσει, ο δρόμος για την επαναπροσέγγιση με την Ευρώπη και τον ΝΑΤΟ περνά μέσα από την Ελλάδα.
Poll suggests that all outcomes could be possible on Sunday's elections. Erdogan could extend his rule into a third decade or lose the presidency and even the parliamentary majority. What is the most possible scenario for you?
He's been in power a long time. He's looking quite old. He's had some illness. The economy is a mess. He's a very good politician. I think he wants to get into the second round. To me, the opposition would have its best chance if they could possibly get over 50% in the first round, while his supporters are a little bit sleepy, maybe. Mm-hmm. By the second round, 2 weeks later, I think Erdogan will have mobilized everybody as much as possible.
Given the stakes for these elections, will they be free, fair, and legitimate? Will there be international observers ensuring the integrity of the process?
Well, it's a complicated question because Erdogan has put more journalists in jail than any time in Turkey's history. With journalists in jail and the state media basically being propaganda outlets, can you call it fair? Mm-hmm. Can you call it free? My guess is, though, if we go to a second round runoff, there's more danger of sort of manipulating the vote.
Putting an end to 2 decades of rule by Erdogan is no simple task whatsoever. Some analysts say he will always find a way to stay in power. Would he accept his possible defeat and step down?
If you remember when his candidate lost in Istanbul, his own hometown, the government forced through a re-election in a pretty scandalous way. And then his candidate lost even bigger. So I think, he may see that too obvious manipulation of the vote works against him. There are people who just don't think he's going to give up power, but I think if it's a reasonably clear result, he will.
Regarding Greek-Turkish relations, many note that when it comes to the big regional tussles, Turkey's key strategic priorities are likely to remain inflexible, no matter who wins. What is your opinion?
Politicians in trouble in Turkey always get support by attacking Greece verbally or in some other way. I think the opposition, if it wants to get closer to the EU and to NATO, will have to lower temperature with Greece. I mean, I would love to see, this is a perfectly naive thing I'm about to say, but I would love to see a serious Greek-Turkish negotiation.
In case Kılıçdaroğlu wins, should we raise expectations that a change of leadership will lead to Turkey's quick return to West after years of drifting eastwards? This is what Kılıçdaroğlu said in his interviews lately.
Yes, well, it's a very good question. He's talking the talk, right? He's talking about how he wants to repair relations with the European Union, and he wants to be closer to NATO, and wants to go back to the Western values. He says he's going to reduce the presidency to a more normal position and make it, again, more of a parliamentary democracy. So in a way, that by itself would make a tremendous difference. He says he's only going to run 1 term, which I think can be a dangerous thing to say because it makes you a lame duck from your very first day in office. But he clearly believes, and the opposition believes for a long time, that Erdogan has, led the country, yes, closer to the east, but also in a more strictly religious setting.
And a final question, Stephen, which are the factors, according to your opinion, that will act as a catalyst for the result? Will it be undecided voters, HDP voters, people hit by the earthquake, or even injustice withdrawal from the race?
the economy is what drives everybody crazy. I mean, inflation was over 80% for a while. It's now down a bit. Erdogan's making these wild promises about getting your pension at the age of 14 or something. I'm joking, but he's making wild economic promises. I think a lot of people don't really believe it, but there are a lot of Turks who just like a strong figure, who feel, you know, they want a kind of rais, they want a sort of sultan who makes decisions. And my worry is, because elections often come down to character, that people will look at the opposition and think, this is a nice guy, but he's old and a bit weak, right? And so maybe we should trust ourselves in a dangerous world still to Erdogan.